The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Tech Tip Tuesday. Today we have Howard talking about AWS Subnets. Howard is the Senior Sales Architect here at Zadara Storage. So without further ado, I'll let Howard take it away.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I know we have people all over the world watching this right now, so welcome to the broadcast. And today what I'm going to talk to you about is the subnets, and it's kind of an exciting. It's kind of an exciting concept where you can actually use your, AWS VPC and manage a bunch of clients on an AWS and also within a single VPSA. Usually what we do is we recommend a single experience for a VPSA, and that's our patented technology. But if you configure your VPSA with enough horsepower, you can actually use it to manage multiple clients. And we have a lot of customers which will have a single VPSA and will have multiple clients. So typically what you need to do is when you onboard, what we do is part of the onboarding, what we do is we connect our Zadara cloud to your cloud, and this is done through a VGW. It's a virtual gateway, and we provide the two direct connects to two clouds. Within the AWS VPC, you can create subnets, and so what I'm suggesting here is that you have like a management subnet here, which you can use to manage your VPSA, and then on each client would have its own subnet, and then you can scale that out to 240 customers, or if it's different customers or different departments, you could do it that way. So they're completely isolated, sharing a single VPSA. Part of it is you can also scale out your VPC, and that's just basically adding a second direct connect. So we can add another direct connect here to the VPSA, and that'll allow you to scale out. So you can have a completely isolated cloud or multiple isolated clouds connected directly to a single VPSA. Let me erase that here. Now, if you wanted to do something similar, if you wanted to add a colo, we could also do a colo. So a colo you'd have your own compute that would be connected directly to a VPSA. And you could do something like adding a BGP session and connect it to the VPC here, and then you have direct routing, so you can share this particular export all the way down off-site into here. So this will propagate all the routing from this Zadara cloud through the VPC back off-site. So the use case for that is that if you want to have multiple users or multiple sites, so you can connect it that way. So we'll have customers that have actually, they'll share everything, and they'll use the compute in here as they need it. So for example, like if you have during Christmas time you have a lot of sales, you can add a lot more compute in AWS and have your main processing back here, which is completely firewalled between the two. And then also you can connect to a VPSA here, and this would just be a simple cross connect. So you can have everything connected up, and the main thing what you want to do is have all the subnets completely different. So for example, this is a 10.0, this is a 172.31, and this is a 172.32. So as long as all the subnets are completely isolated and don't overlap, you can have a complete network that goes in the cloud here, the AWS VPC, and in here, which is also in the cloud, and then you connect remotely. And in this case, this is from core site in Los Angeles, this would go to this AWS VPC in West. And ultimately what you want to do as you manage your clients, you want to be able to scale up and scale out. So to scale up in AWS, what you do is just you add a subnet and then you add EC2 instances. So if you want to add, if your customer or your clients need more compute, you just add EC2 instances to that particular subnet, and they're completely isolated. Now to scale up Zadara, basically you just add drives, add cache, add shares, and upgrade your engine. So we can scale up both ways in AWS and also on our storage. Eventually you could run out of resources in both, and what we do is we scale out. So to scale out, what you do is in AWS you add another VPC, add direct connects, and that's basically the only way you can scale out in AWS. Now at AWS you can only scale out 5 times, but in Zadara you can scale out as many as you want. There's no limit. And the only limit is that we have to have enough servers and storage to provide you additional VPSAs. So part of the scale out solution is just to add VPSAs, and then if you need to, you can add an additional cloud. So that would give you additional bandwidth with brand new direct connects, and then same thing here, you have direct connects. So let me show you an example of that. I'll bring up my VP. Go back to the normal pointer here. This is my Tech Tip Tuesday VPSA that I have a bunch of volumes already created. So here I have a client 1, and it's completely isolated from other volumes. So client 1 and OMCloud and IOZone, they're completely isolated. And now to enforce an export rule, what you need to do is add a server. So with the server records, it allows you to export a particular IP or CIDR block. So for this client 1, what I do is it's actually a 10.10.1/24. So any instance or EC2 instance that's running, if within this subnet, they can access that particular volume that it's mapped to. So if we look at the volumes here, client 1 is mapped to client 1. So you have a one-to-one type of relationship. And it's quite simple to just add a new client. So we just do a manual, and if I wanted to add client 2, I just give it a 10 dot. And we'll just create a record. So now I have 2 completely isolated servers. One thing keeping in mind, let's say client 1 and client 2 are within the same company, you can actually share, even though they're in different subnets, you can share volume. So I just add this particular client 1, mount it as NFS, and attach it. Now both client 1 and client 2 can see the same volume. So if we go back to this volume, we can look at the servers, and you can see how they're exported. And that gives you a way to manage your VPSA. So going back to the slides here, basically, just to reiterate what we have here, is that you have a management network which you'd use to manage your VPSAs and also any type of instances in here. And then each client would have its own subnet, and then you would export it for that particular client or user. And then you just keep adding on and on. So, you know, if you have an accounting department for client A, and then you have for engineering, you have client B, you would do something like that. And you can keep them completely isolated between the two. And then my keyboard is backing up. And then you can keep the two isolated, or if you want to have the common export, you can do that also. So, and this is a very quick tutorial on the AWS. And for more information, this is my email, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's my handle to do any tweeting or anything like that. So feel free to contact me either way. Now next week.
Do you have any questions? Before we move on, does anyone have any questions about this particular demo? Of course, you can always, as Howard said, follow up via email or tweet at him. If anyone has any questions now, he'd be happy to answer. But looks like nothing's coming in, Howard. If you want to talk about next week, go ahead.
Yeah, so next week we're going to talk about our hybrid drive technology, and it's basically a caching layer which improves the performance of the VPSA. And we're really excited about the next release, which is a version 16.05, and you can expand your cache up to 3.2 terabytes. So it will actually provide some pretty fantastic performance for your VPSA.
Yeah, so this will be a great one for current customers and partners to take a look at what the new features can do for them. So definitely join us same time next Tuesday, and again, please feel free to follow up with Howard if you have any specific questions on your VPSA and whatnot. But otherwise, hope to see you next week.